bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right, this is WineBid's podcast. They get all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine occasionally. On our marketing team, I am Jeff McGurn. With me, as always, is the Don of Dosage. That is right, Paul Walker, our wine expert. Paul, welcome back to the podcast week after week after week. I should probably stop saying welcome because you're always here. Really,
you haven't done a solo one yet.
I have
two of us the whole time.
I feel like if I did, it would be amazing though. Like it would be
it would be.
Most likely. Let's jump right into it. We're gonna do a recap episode today. We're gonna be talking about some of the movement we're seeing in the market, some of the stuff we've seen that's had a lot of bids, made some movement on price. Let's start with this the low end of the market, this 2011 Michael Lafarge Marceau. We had two bottles that got
that's Michel, actually. Michel Lafarge.
Michel, that's what I said. Started at 35 and hammered at 48.
48
a bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. I felt like 35 was probably a pretty good deal for that Marceau.
No, I didn't think it was too bad. 11 whites are definitely better than the reds. So I think it's challenging vintage, and I think the whites get maybe mixed up with reds as far as people's perception of the wines from 11, but I don't know Michel Lafarge, the producer. It makes me think of Lafarge from Volnay, but obviously it's somebody else. So I don't know anything about this wine, but no, it is Michel Lafarge. Excuse me, same person. Never mind, not an expert. So I don't know why this wine would actually be $35. That seems way too cheap for me anyway, but 48 is not terrible.
48's not terrible. And then, staying in Burgundy, we had this 96 Danielle Etienne Defay Chablis Leslie. 9 bids took it from $25 to $42 a bottle, $41, $42 a bottle. So good amount of movement there. Look, we talked about this last week. There seems to be some movement towards the lower end of the market. It'd be interesting to see how that 96 Chablis has held up, but for $43.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's mature, it's ready to drink. The color, I think, on the site's always a little bit darker than how it appears, in real life. So it's in great shape. I think it's ready to go. Original owner too. So did you see that Biondi Santi was kind of curious to me because at first I looked at it and I was like, 16 Biondi Santi Brunello. I'm like $75. I'm like, that's nothing. I was like, wait a minute. It's Rosso.
It's Rosso. It's not Brunello. That is Rosso de Montalcino.
But that's also not too surprising because, we do see a lot of Biondi Santi. In fact, I think there's a fair amount of new Biondi Santi in the auction this week. But the Rosso, not a lot. Doesn't appear that often. And
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's like that is you don't see it a lot, but it's a nice way to experience Biondi Santi without having to spend a ton of money, right?
Right. And it matures, considerably faster. So something from 16, I'd probably still hold on to it for a few years, but presumably more accessible and without having to hold on to it forever. Well, obviously, the older Brunello wines from Biondi Santi last forever. I mean, they last for decades.
But I think that's the other piece is that, like, if you were saying to yourself, like, gosh, do I really want to go get a case of the 2016 Biondi Santi Brunello? Before you do, pick up a case of the Rosso de Montalcino and see like what you think of it now, because obviously that Brunello's, you're not going to want to buy it just to open it up and see if it's any good. Whereas this should give you some indication of the quality, right?
Exactly.
In theory.
But it's hard to find. This stuff is like, we've only sold a bit of it over the years. I think only maybe less than a couple of cases. So it doesn't pop up that often. So it is kind of fun to see when it does hit. So, and it all sold right away. It all sold last week. It was only in for 1 week too. So that was that.
We've got a 24. Etienne Sauzet Puny Montrachet.
Sauzet, yeah.
Sauzet Puny Montrachet. 8 bids, took 3 of those from 70 to 86. There was some action on some Domaine Pavlot, Savigny-le-Bon. That one went from 25 to 35. I think we're seeing something pretty consistent week over week. We talked about this last week. I think it's worth mentioning again. we're seeing a lot of action at the lower end of the market, sub $100. Whereas I feel like in the past, we'd see more action at the $100 to maybe $300 mark. We're not seeing as much of that here, right?
Right.
2019 Domaine, Bullard, Grenier.
Yeah, these Belloir wines, these been popping in the last couple of weeks, and obviously the proprietor's no longer with us, so the wines have been, they're more rare, and there's a lot of activity with those. This is one of, I think, I don't know, 4 or 5 different bottles we've had that's gotten bid up substantially, more than double its original reserves.
Well, yeah, 20 to 55. And then we've got this 2000 Domaine, 2000 Hubert, Vigne, Maury, Saint Denis, Les Chefaux, which started at 55. 8 bids took it to 150 where it hammered. So it almost 3x'd, right?
Yeah.
From its starting point. But again, we're looking at everything we've mentioned so far, like started bids, like the starting bid was under $76.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's really low for Hubert Lignier, because those wines are collectible and quite serious. But even so, I mean, that's pretty wild. 55 to 150.
55 to 1. Yeah. 55.
I mean, these wines, I mean, I don't know, talking about wines and where prices are going and values and things, it's hard to assign those kinds of, for me anyway, it's hard to assign any kind of trend, because these are rare. You're not going to be able to replace any of these wines, especially the Belloir, and especially 23-year-old Lignier wines. Like, they're just not consistently around, I mean, even the Biondi Santi Rosa, it's like 6 bottles came in and got bid up.
Well, yeah, it's like
it's
when
rare.
I say, you're going to go get a case of Biondi Santi Brunello Montalcino, and you chuckle because, like, where are you going to get a case of Brunello? Where are you going to get 12 bottles?
Yeah,
right?
You're just not going to find these wines anywhere with any consistency. I mean, we'll see more. Well, it's funny. There's actually more Pavlo in this week. There's more Sauvignon Le Bon from Pavlo. I don't know about 14, but I saw La Dominode, I think half bottles too. And I'm pretty sure they've already got bids, because they're quite rare, and they're not terribly expensive. They probably won't be, but they're great wines and they're hard to find. So the one that I thought was funny, and I don't know if you know this wine at all, is this Edge Hill mixed blacks, because Edge Hill is a winery that was bought by somebody with a bunch of money in Napa, and it's an old winery, and naturally I can't remember if it's like Rutherford Hill or one of these sort of like older school wineries got bought and then revamped, and the wines are really expensive. And I think this stuff unreleased was like $100 and something. So, even at $40, it's a great deal.
It's a phenomenal deal. We had 7 bids on a non-vintage Frederic Sever Dremont.
Yeah, that wine was, man, because I picked, this is one of my picks. There was a Blanc de Blanc and a Blanc de Noir, and I think the Blanc de Noir started at like $90, and so the Blanc de Blanc looked
45. You'd be like, what a steal! The Blanc de Noir is 90. The Blanc de Blanc's 45. Well, no, the Blanc de Blanc for 90.
It hammered at 92. So there you go.
Let's switch over and let's talk about some of the heavy hitters. Let's talk about some of the weekly winners. I'm going to roll through a few of the lots that we saw go for, pretty high dollar amounts. Not surprisingly.
Usual suspects here.
Usual suspects. 2010 Screaming Cabernet Sauvignon, 3 bottle auto BC for $10,500. 1990 Domaine Romani Conti Latache.
Well, Latache was one of your picks last week.
That was one of my picks last week.
Yeah.
I know how to, I like to find the off the beaten path producers that people don't really know about, right? The obscure wines that are not mainstream is what I'm trying.
Right. Not at all. No one knows that.
No one knows that. 2015 Chateau Margaux, 6 Ballat OWC for $61.80. I thought that was interesting.
Another if the big bottle sold, if the 3 liter sold, it probably did. I don't know.
Well, we'll take a look. I think I picked out this. We talked about the 82 Petrus for $3,100. Actually, had 2 bids to go to 30.
Got 2 bids, yeah.
That's the Finally Hammered effect, folks. Finally Hammered did that to that bottle. One of the bots that listens to us bid on that bottle. 07 Screaming Eagle Cab for $31.10. 2015 Harlan Estate through Balado DC for $30.60. 2000 Lynch Baj, 12 bottle lot OWC for 2,880. 15 Skriegel Cabernet Sauvignon for 2765. 2012 Armand Rousseau Chambertin Claude de Bez. We sold one of those. Actually, so we sold two for $2,500 a piece, so $5,000 total. It was a who's who of our usual suspects. As a Domaine Leroy, 03 Domaine Leroy Volnay. We sold for 1,900.
That's wild. That's wild.
Oh, and the 93 Chateau Latour 3-liter sold for 1,680. Let's talk about. Oh, actually, one interesting one was this 79 Dunhill Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon 5-liter, one bottle lot OWC that sold for 1,605. We had a 2016 Alter Ego 3-liter for 400.
There were a bunch of Alter Ego big bottles.
There's a bunch of Alter Ego. Weeks. Yeah. 01 Angelus for 400.
90 Montrose. You see that? There's 90 Montrose Mag hammered at 15, which
I saw
seems
that.
like quite a lot when you consider the 750s definitely not going for more than 500. So 1,500 per mag that's pretty wild.
I thought that was a lot. And let me also say, like, I you've heard me say this, and I think it's quickly becoming not true, is that I felt like there's decent value in Montrose still. That like it just seems to like it seems to be like a little bit lower, a little bit more accessible.
It's the top scoring vintages that get all the attention. The 89, although 89 is going up, which I think is kind of interesting because it was never the wine that ever went for that much. And now it's like people are going after it like crazy. I mean, I guess they both got 100-point Parker scores, but the 90 was always cost more. And I don't know, but the mag for 15, that's a serious number for, it was in for 1 week too. And I think that was probably a slightly inflated price, to begin with. So anyway.
We had the 99 Bon Melbury for 415, the 01 Angelus. Did I mention the 01 Angelus? I thought I did. We had the 01 Angelus for 400. That's a high on record, previous 388 in 2018. And then the 01 Cheval Blanc for 585. I actually think 585 for the 01 Cheval Blanc is not that bad when you look at like the price of First Growth. I mean, it's not First Growth Bordeaux technically, but it's First Growth Bordeaux, let's be honest. And the price like on release these days isn't far off of that. And I would have to look. It may even be higher.
I'm sure.
I love like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure the 01 Cheval Blanc or the 2020 or 2021 Cheval Blanc, whatever was just released, or 2022, whatever was just released is probably right around there. But I'm definitely going to look that up. 05 Latour for 810. And the 13 Dujac Charmes Chambertin for 400. That was pretty interesting there. And the Promontory, 2018 Promontory, one bottle.
Yeah, Promontory keeps going. I mean, there's a lot of it. It's selling every week, but it's expensive.
Up and up.
$980 for a 1-bottle wood case, and that's a lot. It's getting up there.
It is really, really, really getting up there. What are some of your picks?
That was a lot of the sort of main things. There were some interesting. We picked a couple things that went last week too. There were those 6-bottle mixed lot wood case, wines with D'Armagnac and Clerc Milan and Mouton. The one of the 05 to 07 6-bottle hammered at 1170. So that went pretty quickly. Yeah, there were mags of Promontory in last week as well that sold. There are quite a few things that I was surprised about. I mean, there was a ton of great wine in last week. The 10 Ornellaia 3-liter hammered last week. The 08 Maya 3-pack sold for a little over 1,000. So that 18 Pierre Jardin Montrachet I mentioned hammered right away at 980. So a lot of rare ones that went quickly. So yeah, just some amazing amount of wine.
Before we wrap up, I did find it. Cheval, care to wager a guess at what the price was for Cheval Blanc en Premier 2022?
The 22?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. Probably what, $500-600, something like that.
$649. So
$649, yeah.
$585 for an 01 doesn't sound bad to me.
No, it's
like at all.
It's not. I think there's still, that's a relative deal when you think about it. It's just, there's still a lot of discrepancy between vintages for Cheval Blanc, which I think will eventually go away, kind of like they do for first growths, where it's like Lafite from any vintage is always above a certain price. And
Just
I
always
think that
by the way,
the same kind of thing will happen to Cheval Blanc.
The 2022 Angelus, which came out at the same price as Cheval Blanc, and we noted the 01 Angelus was 400. 2022 Angelus released on Premiere at 435. So It is actually cheaper to go buy the 22-year-old Angelus.
Yeah, and those 01s would be drinking just like fantastically now. So I don't know. That's an interesting one.
I'm sure those Angelus are just like absolutely stellar right now.
Yeah.
And with that concludes this wine auction recap. This has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker from Finally Hammered, wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.